Hey everyone! So for our second lesson of the week, we're going to be talking about compound interest, which like I said before, is the one that's a lot more useful and realistic in terms of how things work in real life and in the banks and when you loan your money. So compound interest is paid on the principal and it's accumulated interest. So all that really means is that every time you compound your interest or calculate it to add it onto your amount, you're always using the new amount. As you saw in the example from yesterday, you would calculate the amount for 1 year and then you would have a new principal every year and a new principal every year. So you're taking that percentage off of the new amount. So you're always actually, if you're taking 5% of 10 versus 5% of 20, you're going to have a higher amount of money if you're taking 5% of $20. So compound interest is better for you if you are investing money, and it's worse for you if you are owing money. An example of compound interest could be like for me, I have my car payments and I'm paying interest on my car because I borrowed, $19,000 from the bank to pay for a car, and now I have to slowly pay it back over a 5-year period. So it's something that is used definitely in real life. So instead of using a table like you did in the example yesterday to determine how the value of an investment grows, we can use a formula. So basically yesterday's task was the long way, and this is going to be the way shorter way. So we have our formula right here, and actually it has an exponent in here, which is going to be useful, but you're going to have to probably take out your calculator or your phone calculator even to do it with me and see if you're getting the right numbers. When you're doing the exponent button, usually on your calculator, it looks like this, y to the power of x, a button like this on your calculator. You usually press your first number first, then press this button, and then press the number that goes up in the exponent. So what do these letters represent? A is the total amount or the future value. P is the principal. We already know what that is, the initial amount that you put in. R is the interest rate per compounding period. We'll talk about that in a bit, but again, it's always a percent that you have to turn to a decimal. And N is the number of compounding periods, which again, we will get into. I guess yesterday's task, or 2 days before, was a chart that you had to fill out with all the different compounding periods. So the words that you need to know are annually, once a year, semi-annually, twice a year, quarterly, 4 times a year, monthly, 12 times a year because there's 12 months in a year, weekly, 52 times a year, and daily, 365 times in a year. So that's going to help us out. So for the first example, that's an easy one because it is annually. We're going to take the same exact situation, for example 1, and compare it for each different situation. Semi-annually, all of them. We'll do the first 2 together, and the rest you're going to try on your own. So for an investment of $5,000 invested for 2 years, earning 8% interest annually, determine the final amount of the investment if interest is compounded annually. So you're always kind of looking for that keyword to decide what number do I divide and multiply by. So we will start with our labeling off to the side like we always do. Our P is going to be $5,000. Our percent, our rate, is 0.08, and it is annually, right? So we're going to divide it by 1, so it stays at 0.08. And we also have our time, which is 2 years, and which we will technically multiply by whatever compounding period it is, but since it's annually, times 1, so it's just going to stay as 2. All right, so we put it all together in our equation. So A equals P1 plus R to the power of N. And we fill out the numbers that we know. So 5,000 goes in the front. 1 plus 0.08 to the power of 2. So we can actually clean up inside that bracket, put it together to get 1.08 to the power of 2. Now on your calculator, we want to make sure that we always, that you're getting the same numbers. So what you should do first to follow the BEDMAS rules is do this in your calculator, 1.08 times 2, and then multiply by the number in front. So test it out with me. You can pause the video, you can test it out right now, and we should both get the same exact number which is, and since it's money, we'll round it to 2 decimal places. In this case, it worked out to a nice number. You should get a final answer of $5,832. So after you invest your money, you have earned a total of $832 on top of that original $5,000 that you put in. So hopefully your calculator worked and you didn't get this number. If you did, if you didn't, send me an email and we can figure that out. Okay, so let's try this again for part B, which is now we have semi-annually. So the principle stays the same. It's always going to be 5,000 for the situation. Our rate here is 0.08, right? But it's compounded semi-annually. So let's emphasize this here. Semi-annually means 2 times a year. So that means that our rate, we have to divide it by 2. So we'll put that over here and say it is now 0.04, the rate that we want to put into our formula. And finally, our time is 2 years, but it's compounded twice a year. So if we have it twice in the first year and twice in the second year, that's a total of 4. So we're going to multiply our number by 2. And the number that we want to plug into our formula is now 4. So we'll put it all together and say A equals 5,000 times 1 plus 0.04 to the power of 4. Do you think it's going to be a higher number than before or a lower number? So that's up to you to think about, and let's see what happens. So we'll clean up that bracket, 0.04 to the power of 4. In your calculator, you should do the exponent first, so 1.04 to the power of 4, and then multiply it by 5,000. Let's see what we get here. And I got a number of 5849.29 if you're rounding it to 2 decimal places. So you should get this, and you should also notice that it is more. The more times that you compound, the more money you're actually going to end up getting or owing in that situation. So continue this for the rest of these questions. So you have C, which is quarterly, and if you move on, monthly, weekly, daily. Compare what do you notice. We kind of talked about that already. Try one more example, just going through and making sure you notice exactly what it's asking you for, and then check your answers.